Hi, my name is Cindy Rang, and this is my granddaughter Eliza, and we're going to sew together today.
My daughter and I have owned and operated a busy quilt shop in Washington State for over 20 years. We have a retreat center, an active YouTube channel, and a large pattern line featuring our creations. My two sons work on machines. One daughter-in-law is our videographer, and the other is a long-arm quilter. We are a family that love each other, we laugh together, and every once in a while we get some work done. We have a crew that are saints for their efforts at keeping us on track. Thanks for joining us on our wild ride.
All right, so Sewing with Nana Day, you probably already know what we're going to make because you already picked out some fabric for
Scrunchies.
Scrunchies. That's right. So we're going to make some scrunchies. We're going to make a whole bunch of them. So we're going to go in the sewing room to get started. So Eliza went in to cut the fabric that she picked, but I just want to mention that we do have kits available. And I think some of you guys already know about this, but we have packaged kits for all 8 of the projects that Eliza and I will be doing are all packaged along with written directions. The kit is valued at over $100. Each project is roughly about maybe $8 to $12 for each one. Some of them will be available separately, some will not. But the other thing that we put in there is we put in a little notions kit. So there's really very few things. Other than a sewing machine and a pair of scissors, there won't be anything else that you'll need. So these are limited in quantity, but these are available on our website. And then the other thing that we did do is we did put together some separate packages. You could probably certainly find some fabric in your sewing room to use for your scrunchies. But if you are just interested in some pre-cut kits with no waste, these are $8. Eliza hand-picked out these colors, and she did some bright purples. She did some really pretty orange and yellows. She did some blues. There's kind of a neutral earthy color that she kind of liked. And then of course there's pinks. And then the last one is just sort of this bright, we call it the party pack. So it's kind of nice. And each one, we're going to go in there in a few minutes and I'm going to show you the size and what we're using, but all of them come with everything you need, including the large safety pin, and you'll see why you need that. And of course they all have the pattern. So those are options. You can do that. What's in the kit that's packaged are, we just did some grunge colors. So with the kits, what you might find as we work through the next 8 weeks with our projects, you might find that the fabric varies just a little, but all of it has been hand selected by us. All of it will work perfectly in your project. And there's very little. I think that the largest project takes about a half a yard. So it's something you can make your project, and then if you want to make something a little bit more personal and a little bit different with fabrics of your own choosing, you'll certainly be able to do that. So anyway, now I think Eliza might be done with her cutting, so we're gonna go on into the sewing room. Okay, so for our scrunchies, we need a couple of things. We need a piece of fabric that is 3 inches by 24 inches. This was the color that you picked. And then we need a piece of elastic that is 6 inches. What we happen to have was 1/4 inch elastic because that's what was left over with all of our masks. But if you have 1/2 inch, 1 inch, it doesn't really matter. This is just super stretchy, so won't make any difference. Now the other 2 things that you need to make your life super simple, and I'm going to show you there's a special trick, is a piece of ribbon. Just a thin piece of ribbon that is about 24 inches long. If you don't happen to have a piece of ribbon at home, you could use just a little shard of leftover fabric would be fine, and you'll see what we use this for in just a second. And the last thing you need, great big huge safety pin. Do you know what this is for?
No.
Well, that's why you're in sewing class with me. Okay, let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, so this is your 24 inch by 3 inch piece of fabric. We've folded this over, so we have this special little ribbon. I'm not going to tell you what it's for until the end, but what we're going to do is we're going to put it right in the center like that. Fold this over. Now you have chosen batik fabric, which is really nice because batik fabric
Makes a great scrunchie.
It makes a great scrunchie. That's exactly right. And it doesn't have a right or a wrong side, which is really good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and come on up here, and I'll let you go ahead and do your thing, and monitoring your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Remember, keep your fingers in the front, and go ahead and sew that all the way down. Now the other thing too is at the front, go ahead and do your back stitch. So stitch in about 3 or 4 stitches, hit your reverse button, and do your back stitch. Go all the way back to where you started, and then hit your, go ahead and come forward, and now go sew all the way down. When you get to the bottom, we'll back stitch again. So now with this little thing, when you get down to the very end, I'm going to move your hand out of the way so that they can see. So when you get down to the very end where you have about 1 inch left, we're going to take this ribbon over, and we're going to put it in that seam and sew it in that seam. And now go ahead and sew that off. And when you get to the end, I want you to back stitch again. So sew all the way down, and then back stitch. And then sew off. All right, we'll cut your thread. That's okay. Okay, so we're just going to trim this little guy off. So now what's supposed to happen is you would turn this whole thing right side out. So what's the way that most people do it? How would you turn this right side out?
By pulling this?
Yes. Yes, exactly. Now when you get down here, you want to go ahead and help it at the end here. Keep pulling. There you go. Go ahead and pull. If you pull it all at once, see how it made a great big huge, so watch, you just want to pull this part over the top of it, and then you can pull that through, and then you can slide this off the end of it. And so what's happened is you sewed this into the end of it, which works perfect. And since we used a little ribbon, or if you use a little piece of fabric, then all you have to do is when you get to the end of it here, we're just going to clip it off, and we're just going to leave that little piece of ribbon in that seam allowance, and it doesn't really matter. All right, and so then really the next thing is, let's just go ahead and take this to the iron just for a second, and we're just going to press it flat. Okay, so we've pressed this, and so now what we're going to do is we've taken our piece of elastic and we've put our safety pin at the end of it. Do you know what we're going to do now?
No.
We are going to get our elastic inside our scrunchie. So the reason we put it on this safety pin is because that way, as we push this, we can push this through. So then as you bring this over, you just don't want to lose this elastic inside there. So you're just kind of watching it the whole time, just to make sure that we get this in there.
I'm kind of holding on.
You hold on to it. See, as a team, we can get this done. And a nice big pin works better than a small pin, just a safety pin. You can kind of start to see what your scrunchie is going to look like. So there it is. So you keep holding on to that one, and then I'm going to pull this one through, and then what happens is it's time to sew our elastic together. So I tend to sew it together, but I'm going to show you, okay, perfect, I have it. So I'm going to show you two options. So one option is just to go ahead and lay this together like this, and then you just go ahead and sew that, and you kind of sew back and forth, back and forth, back and forth a whole bunch just to make sure that it's sewn tightly. That tends to be what I do, but it's a little bit squirrely and small, so sometimes it's kind of hard. So your other option when you have small elastic like this, and since I cut 6 inches, you have enough that you can tie a knot. But a quilter's knot is 3 times. You don't tie a double knot, which is twice. You tie a quilter's knot, which is 3 times. So we've tied that 3 times, and that knot's not going to come out. All right, and so now, so it's starting to look like a scrunchie, but look what happened. See I have a little gap right there? We've got to fix that. So what we're going to do right here is we're going to take this and we're going to tuck that in. We used batik, which has a really nice edge, but just in case you ever use cotton or you have to, I throw my scrunchies in the washing machine all the time. And so we're going to tuck that end in like that. And then we're going to come over to the other end and we're going to tuck that one underneath. And then we tuck it inside of the other one like that. I don't know if your mom can see that or not. So it kind of looks like that. Can you see that okay? Mm-hmm. Now, here's the problem is that we have white thread in here. So we probably this is one of those things where sometimes I like to be able to see the stitching that we've done. Yeah. On a scrunchie like this, I think we need to go ahead and change it into pink thread. But what we're going to do is change it into pink thread, and then after we've changed it into pink thread and we've sewn that closed, there's our scrunchie. And then what we're going to do is make a bunch more.
Yay.
Okay, we'll show them at the end when we've made a whole bunch more. So you can see this is the scrunchie, and I don't know if you could tell that we were doing that. You just kind of have to slide everything around so that it fits properly. And then after you tuck that in there, what we were doing is we were just clipping it until we were ready to sew. And then when we were ready to sew, we just sewed and then backstitched. And you really can't hardly see it at all. If you just do a matching thread, you have no idea how it's been sewn, and it just is adorable. So this is just a piece of cardstock, and all I did is I just wrote "Made for You" by Eliza Rang and put a little heart on there. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this up. I don't even know exactly what size this is, and it doesn't really matter. You can make this. So it looks like this is going to end up being almost 2 inches. And so then what we're going to do with this is we're going to take your scrunchies after we've made a whole bunch of them. We're going to put this inside, flip it around like this, and staple it, and then cut this. And so then you have a nice little gift.
I've had fun sewing these. I hope you did too. I can't wait to see you next week.
Thank you for watching our video. We invite you to leave a comment, hit the like button, or better yet, subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. You can also visit our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or Pinterest pages, or find all of those things and our online store at fabricpatch.net.